Hello. So, I'm going to talk about the Pharo Debugger again. I already presented the debug points on Monday, which are a big. It was the big development for Pharo 12, and here I'm going to just do some demo of things that are between Pharo 12 and 13. Small improvements that I wanted to present, and also explain how we try to improve Pharo from a research point of view. So I will skip the boring slides. For the debug point I presented, so if you remember, you can select, you can add breakpoints from the browser, and you have this, you can configure the breakpoints by just using the menu, and you can also install what we call watch points. And so that's what I already showed. Now if you execute that method, it will of course break or not. The good method, yes. We're going to play safe. So which one was it? Maybe I did not save the image. No. It should be called debugger. It would make sense. So let's try again. It was working 20 minutes ago. So let's skip to another. That's too bad. So let's try something else. Normally, if I debug the method, this works. So what you should have seen is that you can see now the breakpoints into the debugger margin. So you can configure them from the margin. And normally you can also add them from the debugger. So you have a break here. And if you click proceed, but just before it failed, so it fails again. So I must have changed something, and then he doesn't like. But then you see that you can actually put a breakpoint into the debugger, and it kills your image. But so, and that is an improvement. So next demo, I will just remove all of those ugly things that make my system fail. So the other improvement, which normally works too, is when you do test-driven development. Usually you find that does not understand. So this is Pharo 12. And what happens in Pharo 12 is that if you try to create the method that doesn't exist, it harasses you with pop-ups like, where do you want to define the selector? Okay, but what protocol? And then whatever, and done. And there was a lot of requests to skip all those pop-ups, to have just a very fast way to add the method when you do TDD. So what we did at the time was that we added a setting that was into its hidden deep here into the debugging, where you could do fast TDD. And in that case, when you execute it in a method that doesn't exist and you try to create, it just creates the method in the class of the receiver in a non-classified protocol. So some people are satisfied with that. Some are not, because then you need to go to the correct settings each time, or you need to build a script so that it works. And both are not compatible. So in Pharo 13, we reused the idea of the moldable exceptions that Andrei presented at least last year, and maybe the other day too, where when you have message not understood exception here, the debugger detects, actually it asks the exception if the exception should display a particular view with particular behavior. And here it detects actually the message not understood exception told the debugger that it had a specific view in which you can tune where you want to put your new method, in which protocol. So those ones with the star is the extension protocols, or even create your new protocol, and then you click add method and it adds the method. So I can do that. Don't worry about that. It should be working too. If you choose to use the old way by using the create button like before, it's just supposed to, I will just skip that. It will just create the exception without asking you anything into the non-classified protocol and in the class of the receiver. So if you do that on a class that uses threads, it also proposes you to install the new method into the thread, which was not possible before with the old pop-up stuff and extra. And so now this should work if I do add method. Yes. So how it is implemented is detailed. I don't want to show that here, but it is really reusing the moldable exception from GT, the ID at least. Okay. Now I want to emphasize why we do research on the debugger and why the practical impact has an importance on our research. Or that is how we do that research. So we want to build better tools that is for you, but if you want to build better tools, the question is what is better, okay? And we actually don't know what the developers need. So you have a lot. I mean, we have a lot of feedback on GitHub. We have feature requests, people that says, I would like that to be to work differently. But then there's never any proposition of implementation, no idea. Sometimes I ask, what really do you need? And I got no answer. So it's very difficult to know what you really need as a developer using Pharo. So we need to understand how you debug. We need to know how developer debugs, and more importantly, we need to know when we provide a new tool, a new way of debugging, what is the impact of what we propose? Is that working? Is it the same as before, worse as before, etc. And so, since I spoke about that yesterday, one way of studying this is using visualization. So these are the visualizations that I presented yesterday. And just a quick reminder, you see each big box is an activity within a tool, within the debugging tools. In pink, you have the debuggers. In blue, the inspectors. Green are code browser, and gray, they are application windows, like the program that you debug. And inside, you have the activity that you do into a window. The bigger it is, the more time you spend into this activity. And if you have two boxes or multiple boxes, each individual box means that you spend time, then you left the window to do something else, then you went back to the debugger. And we started to study a few of these visualizations, and there looks like there are some kind of emerging patterns. So, for instance, here, sometimes you have a big box like this, where all the activity seems concentrated. So we call them the hubs. There is, and this is recurring between different visualization of different debugging sessions. You have a big box and people tend to spend a lot of time in the same tool. Then you have here what we call ping pongs. It's like you go from a big box or from a box and you go into a window, you do a small activity, only one. Then you come back to your original window and you never reuse this one again. And you see that multiple times. So this, perhaps it is a pattern, we don't know yet. It's research, open research. So perhaps it's a pattern that we call ping pong. If we look on this other visualization, you can see another pattern. We call that the chains. The chains. A chain, it's like this. You go from, you start from a window, and you go through a sequence of, it could be different window, but of windows in which you have one single activity, then you leave, and you never go back into any tool of that chain again. And we see that appear also multiple times in multiple different debugging sessions. So in this example, we annotated some of the patterns. So this is another session than the ones before. And you can see that you have ping pongs here, ping pongs here. You have a small chain here, a chain here. You have two big hubs, one here, one here. There is also your application that you are debugging, that we do not count as a debugging tool. And so these patterns, they are emerging from the visualization. We are trying to do more debugging session to build more visualization and try to observe if that is just random stuff that appear, or if there is a pattern, and if we can exploit this pattern to understand what's happening. But that is really an overview. It's not enough. So we have a small demo just to dig a bit. Here is one of the visualizations. Like that. So in addition to this overview, we can actually look at a particular activity and see the actions that were performed into an activity. And there we can start understanding why are we here and why are we moving back and forth to other activities. So here you see the small vocabulary on the left. So there is, for example, a breakpoint here, and it's not practical. I see that the person put a breakpoint on the add method of set, which is odd. You don't do that usually in Smalltalk. So you can click on the breakpoint here maybe, and observe what are the details of this breakpoint. And here we see it's an object-centric breakpoint, so it makes sense. It's only on one specific set that the user is putting breakpoint. You can see the method on which it was put, exactly the node. Okay, so it's on the method node there, it seems, and so on. So we have access for each box that you see to the logs of what happens, the events of what happens, and we can study what's happening. And this is how we, in the next year or so, are going to try to explore how we can help developer with new tools. Because, for example, if you take the example of the ping pong pattern, the question is, what is the user trying to do? Can we help the user with a new tool that avoids all this going back and forth to other windows? Can we propose a tool? And if we do, and we really do the experiment, do we have a different visualization? Okay, this is one point of view, but we can also take another point of view on the debugging session. So for example, here, this is a timeline of the events that happen during all the session. So for example, here you have the number of times that an inspector was used. And here you have the details. How many times we inspected an attribute, how many times we inspected a method, how many times we change the inspector pages. That means how many times we navigated in the mailer list. Okay, and so this information is also important because we can observe the frequency usage of each tool or each detail of a specific tool. And finally, we can see the timeline of the window usage. That means here what we see is each bar is a window that was open here, for example, and closed here, and we see how they are chained together. So here, for example, the debugger was only opened at the beginning, and so on. And we can try to understand the process of of how the tools are used. And for now, it's disconnected from the big view of the beginning, but we plan to connect that so that we can see, we can maybe have animated visualization where we can see the living debugging session living into the visualization. So we could see something more sequential than just this, which is an overview. And each time we can again access to the logs. So here, this is blue, this is an inspector, and I can see the actions that were performed on the inspector. And similarly, if I click on the event, I see what is the technical action that was performed in this playground. Okay, so basically that's all. I would like just to thank specifically Adrien, who was the main developer these last 2 years on the debugger, and lots of improvement that I showed and that we have in Pharo 12 and 13, like breaking stack, the debug points, the implementation of the mutable exception, and a lot of bug fix, because of course, since last year we have a lot of improvements on the debugger backend itself. They are from Adrien, who's here. So thanks. And he also contributed a lot of the current documentation project of the debugger. So we are trying to put everything, how to use the debugger and how it's implemented into a book. That Adrien is the main contributor. So thank you, Adrien, for that. And finally, perhaps a roadmap. So there will be all the bug fix, the infrastructure stuff, blah, blah, blah. Now we want to work on the emergency debugger because, as you saw, when I failed, there was this window that appeared, and it appears that I am the only one person that can work with that emergency debugger because I built it. So I will have to revise this, how it's built, its design, and how to make it, and think about how to make it accessible to everyone. Because for now it's a very technical tool that is difficult to use. That I agree. And of course, we will work on the documentation. So there is this book to come, and our ambition with the book is to provide first a user documentation. So you have all these tools. How do you use them? And also in technical documentation that is more for the years to come for the Pharo developers, for the developers of the Pharo system, is that why we did that this way and how and what is this design. So we want to explain that so that we don't lose this knowledge. And I say perhaps it is a roadmap because we depend a lot of the opportunities of the fundings. So we could fund Adrien for 2 years. Now he's going to work on new adventures, and it depends on that. It depends on the ideas. Sometimes we have a cool idea, but that actually solves a practical problem for Pharo. So if it's easy to implement, it goes into the roadmap. And if something goes into the roadmap, something has to get out. So I hope that for next year I will be able to hold that one, but no guarantees. Thank you very much. Questions? Micro for question.
I did some courses on process mining, so there is a lot of tooling to. Well, debugging is not. There is no ideal path to solving bugs, because bugs can be either very simple or very complicated. But yeah, maybe you should have a look at process mining tooling that would help you maybe identify a path that or traversals that are very popular, or basically help to classify them, etc.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps this is you're talking about the visualization thing.
You're using actually a visualization on step basis. You do some classification. You see some patterns.
It seems. It's
yeah, voilà. But bon, there is I see some resemblances in process mining, for example. Maybe tooling like that could help you in your analysis.
I will look into that. Thanks. It's just that we are not arrived at these considerations yet. It was because at the beginning we only had the logs because we wanted to compute quantitative metrics from what happens. How many times you use the tools, how many times you spend debugging, how many times you do the debugger. But then the visualization idea came after, and this is really early work. Okay. So of course this is interesting. We look into that.
Yeah, maybe you answered this already, but I didn't just get it. But did you use the output from the visualizations to suggest improvements for the debugger that Arjen made?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
This is really
this is the future development.
This is the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
For now, we validated manually that the visualization corresponds to what happens, so that we took video screen records and we look at the visualization and we looked is that what is happening right now, and step by step we did that. So we can say that with some confidence, it's not with some confidence we can say that the visualization corresponds to what happened, and now we can try to use that to propose improvements.
Yeah, that's what you would ideally want. Okay, I understand.
Okay, my question might have been answered yesterday. I didn't see the other presentation. But did you do a correlation between those patterns and people who successfully debugged the challenge? I think you're talking about the experiment that people did.
No, it's not that one.
Oh, okay.
It's another one.
Okay.
Also, this visualization. So, for instance, this one, it is someone debugging the same bug than this one. So, I will do that. It will be easier. So. This one is an expert. This one is a beginner, but this one is using an object-centric debugger. So for now, we just have the visualization and we get these results, and we are surprised and we try to explain them. So, but we have only a few debugging sessions, so not enough to try to build correlations. And we are still at the level of the visualization now without. Anything else.
So this is not related to the debugger per se, but in one of the visualization, you show little windows that were just open and close super fast with the line.
With the
With the lines, you know, the visualization with the lines, like the horizontal lines.
in the demo.
No, maybe I don't know if it was
It's
live.
not that. It's not that. It's not that.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So you
No,
know,
but okay. Can,
for me, this is more. Yes, this one. Yes. You see this 4-liter square on the. I know them. I hate them. This one. This is me.
This one?
This is me closing the wrong window.
ah.
And so this is not really a debugger experience, but this is really how could we improve the flow for idiots like me that are always closing the wrong window. You know, it's like so. And I think that we should really make progress as a community. So if anybody in the room is trying something to solve that, I want to try it because I'm always closing the wrong window.
So this is interesting because this is one scenario, and this is not the one that we see here.
Ah,
No, because here what we see is a chain. So it's someone
that is
clicking
doing the
proceed, debug close, another debug opens because another breakpoint hits.
Ah.
But it's not the one that the person is looking for. So they continue and they arrive there. But then that's interesting because maybe there is another pattern that is yours, that you can propose a name for that pattern, and we can try to identify it in the
the idiot window, you know, closing. Yes. No. The right fix for that, Esteban, would be something clever that says Control Z, I reopen the last closed window, for example.
other questions.
No more questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay.